Nick Castle, and you're watching Without Your Head. Keep your head on. Bye-bye.
All right, and we're live here at the Station of Decapitation Without Your Head. I'm Nasty Neal.
That would make me terrible, Troy.
I'm Treacherous Trista.
Yes, and we're joined by actor, singer, cabaret performer, and many other things. We have Suze Lanier-Bramlett on the line. It's very cool to have you here.
Nice to be here.
Yes.
Yeah. I love your music. That's great.
Thank you. This is by the Tomb of Nick Cage.
So many of my friends on the roll. I know everybody on the roll practically.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
It's very good. Yeah, and eventually when I update it, you will be up there as well.
Yeah, cool. Yeah. Who wrote the song, actually?
The Tomb of Nick Cage. It's an independent band out of New Orleans, and they did our theme song. It's great.
Yeah, they do some good stuff.
My son is the guitar player for 45 Grave and was the guitar player for the Dickies for a while. So
nice. So music runs in the family.
It sure does.
Yeah. Which was like, what was your first pursuit? Was it acting or music?
Definitely acting. But it kind of went together. I was writing songs when I remember my first song I wrote. I was probably about 12. It was really bad. I had a crush on a boy named Mike, and it was called "I Like Mike." So,
well, I know what the song is about.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I've always been musical. I took piano lessons for 5 minutes, but I was always jamming on the piano. We had a piano in the house, and my grandparents were musical. So was my mother. So
interesting.
Ran in the blood, and then I married Delaney Bramlett, and he's in the Blues Hall of Fame. So he wrote "Superstar" and "Let It Rain" with Eric Clapton, and many rock hits. So we were married and together for many years. So until he passed away in 2008. So
I'm sorry about that.
Yeah, thank you. But I've been working. That keeps me off the street.
Right. Yeah. So what are you working on currently? We usually end with that, but I don't know. Right now is a weird time, but
right now is a really weird time. So I turned down a project in Bulgaria. I was supposed to be in Moscow when the pandemic hit, doing a horror festival. They were presenting me with a Lifetime Achievement Award in Moscow, and I'm so glad that at the last minute, I just said, I don't feel like I should go on this trip. And then all hell broke loose. And then, and I didn't go. And so the thing was canceled because it hit Moscow too. So anyway, I have 2 projects coming out. One is a comedy sitcom that Amazon Prime is looking at, and then another is I have actually filmed a horror mini web series here in my house called Red Rooms with Brooke Lewis, and Josh Butler is the director and creator of it. And so because I can do lighting and camera angles and stuff, I set it up and had to chain myself to a chair, and I play a senator, and then
for the performance. This isn't just
performance. So I'm having to be the crew, the makeup, the lighting, the camera, everything. You got to do it all these days, baby.
It was interesting because I saw about Red Rooms because we're actually having Brooke Lewis on in a couple weeks, and it was cool that you're both working on something together.
Well, she's a producer. She's coming over tonight for dinner. So.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, we're going to stay outside and social distance. Right. But I have all my outdoors set up for a couple of people to come over at a time and feel safe. She's a hoot, and I really liked doing her project. She's a go-getter. She has a lot more energy than I do.
So, you've done a lot of comedy and, you've done horror. Like, are you a fan of both? And would you approach each one differently?
Yeah. With comedy, I always got away with playing kind of dumb. And, in The Hills Have Eyes, I got to be, even though I was playing 16, I was able to be intelligent, and figure out how to kill people and stuff and survive. And so Comedy, I always kind of played a little sketchy or a little dumb or a little drunk or something, you know. I love both. I did stand-up comedy with George Carlin on TV, on the Tony Orlando and Dawn show. We were teamed up in the 70s. So I did stand-up. I do cabaret. So I incorporate all of it in my cabaret show that I was doing about a year before the COVID. I stopped to do some writing, but I write music all the time, and I love being able to incorporate all of them in my one-woman show, which is rock, comedy, horror, and music. So
that's very impressive. I would like to see that.
I had a nice following here in LA. Nobody has a following now, you know.
Unfortunately,
Unfortunately, and I hope it's not something we have to get used to. I got a video the other day that was sent to me, and it was some country singer, and it was about keeping Austin weird, and all the old dives, like the Armadillo World Headquarters and all those places that I've spent a lot of years drinking and listening to music, they were all boarded up, out of business. I mean, give me a dive and forget the Beverly Hills Hotel or, the Bel Air Hotel. I could care less. I like a good sleazy dive and a brew or, drink or something and listen to music. That's,
Yeah, I know here in Massachusetts and Boston, a lot of the old dives and places people played, for decades, a lot of them are going out of business, and they're historic. A lot of people got their start there and still still would play, but with no help to them or anything, and not being able to have business, they've gone out of business and probably won't be reopening.
It's heartbreaking. It really is. I just had a birthday, and I made, I never have done that charity thing, the donation thing on my birthday on Facebook. But I did this year for Music Cares, because all of my musician friends are literally starving and being evicted, and they can't live. A lot of them live gig to gig. And so it just breaks my heart to see that it breaks my heart that I can't go hear people play, because I'd rather be in a bar than just about anywhere,
When you said, in Hills Have Eyes, you got to play, your character was smart. Was that part of what interested you in the role?
No, what interested me in the role, to be honest, is that I wanted to star in a movie, and Wes Craven asked me to star in the movie, and I'd done a lot of television, lots and lots of guest star roles on television. And when Wes Craven and Peter Locke offered me the lead in The Hills Have Eyes, my agent told me not to do it, that horror would ruin my life and ruin my career, and you're an idiot if you do it. And I just said, I really I had met with Wes, and he wasn't a star then. He wasn't as...
Yeah, I was going to say, he wasn't Wes Craven yet.
He wasn't Wes Craven yet. Yeah. He was just a really nice, really cool guy. And I liked him. And I just thought, I'm going to do this movie. And if it's a bomb, then so be it, I've also always done a lot of theater. And I figured, well, if they kick me off of TV, I'll just go back to the stage and move back to New York, So it didn't really matter. But I'm so glad I did The Hills Have Eyes, and decided to do it, because...
I think that's something that some people today don't think about, that doing a horror movie could have been bad, for your career. Because, people we've interviewed, Ken Faree said, doing Dawn of the Dead, everyone loves it now. But at the time, people saw it as one step up from doing a dirty movie. And you said it really actually did hurt his career.
You know what? I don't think they either wanted me or not. I worked after The Hills Have Eyes on television. Mm-hmm. I don't think anybody paid much attention to it. I didn't have to put it on my resume. If I didn't want to, they couldn't go to IMDb to do this again. So they couldn't look me up and say, let's see all the scuzzy things she's done. So, which were plenty. But so I don't think it really hurt anything. And I was getting more into music anyway, and I would drift back and forth from careers. Right now, I'm doing, before COVID, I was doing more acting than music, but now that COVID's hit, I can go in the studio and just do music, and I don't have to wait for a job, and I don't have to be around a crew or a cast, and everybody's very nervous about going back on set, and I'm at an age where, you know, I'm not wild to go work on a set being surrounded by a ton of people. So, you know, I either, what did he say? It is what it is.
Right. Yes.
Yeah, it is what it is.
Uh-huh.
You know, I've got to wait it out, or, you know for sure that the money's good enough for me to risk something like that.
Yeah. Which is more fulfilling for you, doing the music or acting? Or are they similar? Not, you know, money-wise or anything, just like you personally. You mean if I had to pick one? Yeah, just like for a creative outlet, which would be more fulfilling to you? Music. I'm going to pick music because I've had a more successful career in acting than I have music. Mm-hmm. But in terms of rewarding and being on stage with my band and being in a club somewhere and just standing up there and being myself and talking about whatever I want and sing the songs I want, it's really fun. Nobody can say that it's not a lot of fun. You know, it's a ton of fun. Acting, you're sitting in a trailer and you're waiting for your time to be called to the set, and you can't mess up. You've got to really keep those lines. It's real hard work. And, you know, I think people think that most people who haven't done a lot of acting think it's really easy, and it's not that easy. I mean, it's work, and you have to, you know, learn how to match what you did on the last take and hit your mark and pick up the blood over. I was on a set, No Solicitors with Eric Roberts, and John Callis was the director, and this one actor could not put the blood on the desk. I'm playing a nurse, and this one actor couldn't figure out to put the blood in the same place for every take so that everything would match. And you know, it's like hard work. I mean, you know, I didn't blame him. He was nervous. He hadn't done that much. And so, you know, there was a lot of, the director wasn't thrilled. And so, you know, you got to hear all that. I've worked with some pretty tough directors too. And John Callis is great. He's not tough, but I've worked with some really tough directors that'll scream at you. So. Which is easier to, not easier, but what you think is more effective? Someone who is like hard on you, or someone who's, I guess there'd be a medium. If they're too easygoing, you might not actually help you. Well, I love creative input. You know, I love to know that I am giving the director what they want and why they cast me in that part. I'm very, very serious about my work. And if somebody casts me to do a role, I want to make sure that I'm giving them what they asked for. On low budget, they don't have the budget to do it over and over again. So the first time I do it, I go, is that what you want? And I want them to tell me. And if they want something else, or they go, you're way off or whatever, you know, that doesn't, you know, usually you have a good idea. But even in low budget, you don't have a lot of time to rehearse. So you better get it right. And so, yeah, I'd rather them be, you know, let me know exactly what they want. So I don't like working with people that are wishy-washy. You do what you want. Yeah, I want to know what you want. Mm-hmm. You know, it's like picking a restaurant. Do you want to go to the Wiener Schnitzel, or do you want to go to, you know, Maggiano's? Right. You know? I used to make a really good Wiener Schnitzel, actually. I haven't made it in a while. Really? Yeah. It's very similar. No one will care about this, but it's very similar to making chicken parmesan. It's the same. It's different, but it's the same idea. Instead of chicken, it's pork, and you got to flatten it out, get it nice and tender, and then it's the same technique, but different sauces and seasoning. For anyone
I don't know why you don't think anyone would care. That's kind of interesting. I like that.
Yeah. Well, I think people think Wiener Schnitzel is like a sausage, but it isn't. I'm half German and half Italian, so they go together, I guess. But again, no one cares about that. But
Care?
All right. Well, thank you.
There, Neal.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. What was Wes Craven actually like? You said he was a cool guy when you met him. What was he like on set?
He knew what he wanted. He was working against the clock. We didn't have a big budget, and so he was very he was very artistic, and I was kind of invited in to see dailies into the hotel rooms. We shot it in Victorville, California. I was I think the only one that was invited into the rooms to watch dailies, and he was a dream. I mean, Wes he was just so nice. And until he passed away, I kept up with him through the years. If we did I don't think he went to a convention. We did a couple of Hills Have Eyes events where we were together again. And he was always such a gentleman, and that was after he became Wes Craven.
Right. Which, we had people on who say opposite, not about Wes Craven, but other people, like once they became famous, they didn't talk to the cast anymore. So it's good to know that Wes was a good guy.
Oh, yeah. No, he was very warm. He was very warm to all of us. We've done some Hills Have Eyes conventions, and Michael and I talked to Michael yesterday. I talked to Michael Berryman like maybe once a week. We're like brother and sister now. And so he was my neighbor. He's moved to Florida. I live in Calabasas, California, and I'm so sad that he moved to Florida. But we have kept up our communication. I literally talk to him almost once a week. And so the whole cast was pretty tight. Dee Wallace lives around close to me, and we've all and that's kind of weird because a lot of television shows and other films I've done, the cast has not stayed in touch, but this one we have. Yeah.
Was that right after the movie you stayed in touch, or was it later on when you started to do conventions that you guys get back together?
It was later on. Now, I would see Dee sometimes at the manicurist, not now. I had to do my own.
I cut my own hair now, too.
But I just did a movie with Dee's daughter, Gabrielle Stone, called Cut. I don't know if you've seen it.
I read about it. You have seen it. Oh, wow. It
and really you had that great line that you won the award for. I love that line. Any idiot with a digital camera can call themselves a filmmaker. It's an amazing line.
Tristan, you are good, girl. I can't believe you remembered that line. Yes,
it's a great line. Well, go on. Please tell your story.
Well, it was great because, I'm playing. First of all, if you like horror and you have not seen that movie, I found that movie to be very well made and also very scary. And so it's a thriller. And I also, I went and saw it with my manager, so I'm not just prejudiced about the fact that I'm in it. It's like, boy, you better not get up and go to the bathroom because you're going to miss, or go get popcorn because you're going to miss. You have to really follow it. And the ending is weird as hell. And so, anyway, I play Suze Lanier, a filmmaker, grown-up, former child star of The Hills Have Eyes, or teenage star of The Hills Have Eyes, and Dee's biological daughter, Gabrielle Stone, is my leading lady. And so we did that movie about 4 or 5 years ago. I can't keep up. And I became very good friends with Gabrielle. So I go to some of their parties and things like that via Gabrielle, because we had such a good time working together. She's a wonderful actress too.
I unfortunately haven't seen it, but when I was reading about it, it sounded very meta, like that you play basic yourself, and then Dee Wallace's daughter is in it. Sounds very interesting.
It's a good movie. I thought it's very well made, written, I think, too, by David Roundtree. And that was a fun movie to do. I don't have a huge role in it, but I like playing myself as, whatever. It's what a stretch to play yourself.
Yeah. Is that hard, though, to actually play yourself in a movie?
No. No. David is a really nice guy, too. He made being on that set really fun. Yeah. So it was a fun gig.
How did you meet him? Did you know before the movie?
We had the same manager, Eileen O'Farrell. She also had recommended Gabrielle for the part. And so I don't know if she was actually involved in casting. A lot of careers overlap a little bit, but I know that she's the one who pitched me to David, and he went for it. And she's not only my manager, but also a dear, dear friend, like a sister. And so I think that's how that happened. Mm-hmm. And David teaches acting here in LA, and he has a studio, so it's kind of easy for him he's got all the equipment and everything.
Yeah. So when is Red Rooms, when is that going to be available?
It's still in post,
uh-huh.
and I'm not sure exactly when it's going to be available. If it takes off, it's going to be a really, really fun project. I mean, it will be aired and people will be able to see it. If it becomes when it becomes a series, it's going to be a lot of fun, because I don't like to. In this particular one, I play a senator, so I'm very dressed up, and but believe it or not, I really like to play very seedy, no makeup, homeless, awful people. And so, that I really love to get funky, and and a lot of people don't give me that opportunity. So I get to suggest some of the characters I would like to create for the project. So it's very interesting. I can't give it away because but it's I'm looking forward to it happening. That's for sure.
Yeah. And a lot of people tell me right now, series is a good way to go, because there's so many platforms out there that need content, and the series is longer than a feature or a short.
Well, Red Rooms are kind of short. I find
that's another thing that's good today, though, because a lot of people have a short attention span.
I was going to just say that.
No,
You're reading my mind. You're reading my mind. Even I have a short attention span. And when I go, I think there was somebody doing some YouTube thing today, and it caught my attention. I thought, well, I'll check that out. And I went, okay. And she's reading her feed, like how many people are coming up. And how many, well, we're going to start it in a minute. Let's see. Oh, hi, Sherry. Blah, blah, blah. I went, screw you. Go out of here. I'm not watching that shit.
Life is short.
Start already, okay? I don't want to hear the damn thing. I don't want to watch you there. That is dumb. And I just don't have the attention span to stay there. If you can't get me in a couple of seconds, I'm gone, Yeah,
especially, today there's so many things to watch or, put your attention on. So you have to grab people right away.
So many options. Just like next,
Mm-hmm.
Scroll.
Did you know that The Hills Have Eyes had like a following right after you did the movie, or was it, later on with the internet and the conventions?
Well, The Hills Have Eyes started having a following fairly quickly. Mm-hmm. And it was not a box office hit when it was released. I did a tour with Wes and Peter Locke around the United States to talk about it, and it was on some TV shows and stuff like that. But it didn't really, it played in a lot of drive-ins, let's put it that way. And thank God it did, because I'll tell you a tiny little quick story. I played in the drive-in in Van Nuys or something, California, and I never saw it in a drive-in. But one night, my girlfriend, right after it was released, my girlfriend said, let's go to the Troubadour and hear Lanier-Bramlett play. And her husband was in his band. He played a trumpet, Daryl Leonard, who's played with everybody. And Taj Mahal, I mean, name them. I mean, the Rolling Stones, everybody. So we went to the Troubadour, and Delaney was on stage, and she said, we got to walk by the stage and say, let Daryl know we're here. We're both kind of, not totally straight, at the time. So she walks by the stage and goes, hey, we're here. And Delaney sees me. And he walks down off the stage and he says, what's your phone number? I saw you in a movie last night and I'm going to marry you. And I went, I have a boyfriend. Who are you? And he goes, I don't care. I don't give a shit. What's your phone number? And I said, well, that kind of balls. I've got to check this out. So anyway, the drive-in version of The Hills Have Eyes got me my husband. And so, The Hills Have Eyes has been one of the biggest blessings in my life. Forget acting career. I'm talking about personal, life-enriching experiences of relationships and my personal life. And he ended up being a fabulous stepfather to my son. So, and taught me music, and his life was so exciting too, and we were just a great team. And had I not made The Hills Have Eyes, the whole journey would have been different. Maybe better, but it could have been a lot worse. So you never know what one thing is going to lead to the next. And it's not all, in my opinion, life is not just about my career. Life is about many things, and giving back and helping people, and not just being self-involved with. I know some actors that all they care about is their next job. I figure if I'm supposed to have it, they'll give it to me, and if I'm not supposed to have it, then I didn't need to do it. So yeah.
Along those lines about like giving back, I was watching an interview you did, and you talked about producing a lot of things for women and being involved in the women's movement, since like the late '60s and '70s. Mm-hmm. So something to talk about, and like how do you think that's changed over the years till today? Because obviously it's something very topical now. I was Gloria Steinem's assistant in the 70s on a TV show called Woman Alive for PBS and the Corporation for Public Broadcasting out of New York. And I learned a lot about production by working with her. And women were very empowered at that time. This was the early 70s, maybe 1972. And we were burning our bra and marching for choice, which had not started yet, and for equality. And it's hard to believe, and a lot of people question me when I say this, but I feel that our society as a whole were more evolved in that era than what they've become. And it makes me very, very sad, because yeah, there was always Me Too and people trying to get in your pants for a job or whatever, but it didn't seem so much of it wasn't that prevalent. And so I feel like women have lost some of their power by letting society become a Kardashian mentality, which to me is rather demeaning as a woman. Yes, they're great business people, perhaps, but how did they
how did they get there, and what are they selling? And it's all about the external qualities rather than the intellectual and the productive part of life. And everybody loses their looks. I don't care who they are. Everybody's going to change and get older. And so if that's all it's about, it wasn't like that in the early 70s. I mean, we were empowered, and it wasn't a question of if you go to college. I went to NYU. You go to college, you do the best you can. And I really feel like, I feel like the society has digressed, and hopefully if we get a strong woman ever to be in the, in political power, maybe it'll evolve back. But for right now, I feel like horror does the same thing, but my thing about horror, I do lecture some of the young girls in horror. If you're just going to be the victim, and if you're just going to allow people to slaughter you or cut off your breasts or whatever, it better be with a sense of humor, even in horror, because I think it's totally demeaning, to, even if it's for an art project. I think that you have to be careful about what you allow people to think of you as a woman.
Interesting. Did you turn down any roles because of that? Like, after Hills of Eyes?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I turned down a lot of roles because I thought, oh no, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to be that kind of a victim. I don't play victims very well because I don't feel like a victim. So I'm not very believable as one. I'm very tough. I'm pretty tough. And people say that about me. I don't care. I take it as a big, huge compliment. They'll go, "You are tough." I go, "Yeah, you ain't seen nothing yet." So yeah. And so I'm not afraid of, I'm not afraid to speak my mind and talk back to anybody. Life is short, and you better, say what you mean.
Yeah. Trista, do you have a question? I'm sorry to take all the questions.
No, don't be sorry at all. I am so impressed by your questions and your answers that I do have a question, but most of my questions have been covered by your insights already. And I already can't wait to watch this back and listen to the profundity of your words again. Thank you for speaking from your heart and your truth. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
That being said, I'm all I really have left is how did you wind up being cast in The Hills Have Eyes? But I think you covered that. All right, did you cover that?
I think she just said she liked Wes, but I don't know
Wes had seen
why they picked her.
Wes and Peter, the casting director, Gus Shermer, and Carol Propp knew my work from Welcome Back, Kotter, because I played John Travolta's girlfriend on Welcome Back, Kotter. And they, I think, were looking for somebody who could play 16 believably. I was a little older than 16, of course, but I still looked 16. And so Carol Propp had, she's still a big talent person here in town. She had recommended me for the role, and I got into the meeting, and it was kind of an immediate thing. I think they'd seen me on television. And so it wasn't a huge audition process. I did some improv with Wes in an office building. I think it was 9200 Sunset. And it was pretty much a done deal, I had also just starred at the Amundsen Theater with Richard Chamberlain and Dorothy McGuire, Raymond Massey, and Tennessee Williams was one of the producers. It was a huge credit. And I played the Sue Lyon role. I think that people knew I could act by being able to star at the Amundsen Theater in LA. I had a pretty strong theater background by the time I got here. And I started very young. I joined Equity when I was 17 years old.
I've always wanted to ask someone this. I don't know if you'd have any insight on it, but do you know if Wes Craven himself was like into booby traps and survival? Because I've noticed like it is a theme in a lot of his movies. It's in Hills Have Eyes. It's in Last House on the Left. It's in Nightmare on Elm Street.
Oh, you're right. It's in a lot
Nancy
of
does
them.
it
I
on
never
Freddy.
thought of that.
Yeah, he does. It's in many of his
Is he a
films.
real life booby trapper?
Yes, yes.
You know, we never really talked about that. Thought about it much. I mean, he said, get on the car and pull the, you know,
Right.
start the chain up. So I never really thought about Wes that way. I
Uh-huh.
didn't see all of his movies. If
Right.
I'm going to go watch something, I'd rather watch, I don't know, Bridget Jones' Diary or something that's lighter and not quite so, you know, heavy. When I was a young girl, though, I loved all the Vincent Price movies. And I thought, I just was in love with the Vincent Price Pit and the Pendulum. And also, I went to school with Anne Rice's younger brother-in-law. And so I love Anne Rice's work. You know, I love Interview with a Vampire and vampire things. That to me is really fun. Torture and horror and torture, anything torture kind of thing. I can't, it's hard for me to watch it. Even Law and Order SUV, you know,
Yeah.
I don't, you know, I like the show, but it when it gets too, you know, tense, I turn it off because you know, why watch it when, you know, people are blowing up in Beirut?
Right. Yeah.
You know.
Supposedly they're doing a series, I think on HBO, from the Anne Rice novel, similar to how they did Game of Thrones, where, you know, each season would be like a novel, and they're going to do that with the Anne Rice.
I sure would like to be a part of that, and I would love to be cast in something of hers. Because
Awesome. Yeah, I think they're doing the whole Vampire Chronicles. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's awesome idea. So, when you're doing the scene with Michael Berryman, the rape scene, what's like the what's the vibe on set for something like that? For something that is, you know.
Okay, I'm going to tell you the story. It was the very first scene filmed
Oh wow.
in Hills Have Eyes, was the rape scene. And I think Wes just wanted to get it out of the way and to see how it goes. And Michael was very nervous about freaking me out because, you know, he's born, you know, looking a little bit different, and maybe he was insecure. I don't know. And so so Wes had warned me that he might be a little nervous about doing it. And so while nobody was watching, I said, Michael, come here. And I said, listen, when Wes calls action, don't be raping me. Let's be making out like really hardcore. And he goes, really? And I said, yeah, let's just be making out and for a joke. And so, you know, somebody, one of the groups or whatever, pulls the curtain and Wes goes, action. And so Michael and I are, you know, we're just making out to beat the band. And Wes, everybody cracked up. And Wes went into hysterics. And I know it was a waste of film, but it completely broke the ice. It was the first take of the whole shoot. And he thanked me a million times for doing that because it broke, you know, it just made it all easy after that. And it made Michael so comfortable, you know, to go ahead and commit to the scene.
Yeah.
So he didn't have to hold back anymore.
Right, yeah. This brings to mind, is Michael Berryman a good kisser?
Yes.
Very good.
Fine.
Very good, yeah.
I can't remember that far.
Yeah, I got a question here in the chat room. Joe wants to know, Suze, what was it like working with John Ritter? Was he as generous a person and actor as people say?
I didn't get a chance to know him so well because I'd lost 3 days of rehearsal because I was in the desert doing pickups for The Hills Have Eyes. The girl who'd been cast as Chrissy had been released. And so I had to run to ABC and had big cue cards where I crammed for my screen test. And I only had 3 days to rehearse. my lines as Chrissy and shoot before a live audience. So I didn't get a whole lot of time off to be able to develop any kind of relationship with John Ritter. He was fine. I happen to be, to this day, extremely good friends with John Ritter's ex-wife, Nancy Ritter, and all three of his children. So, and now, if he were alive, he would be a proud grandpapa. And so I'm very close to his family. And David Morgan, his ex-wife's brother, and his whole family, they're all in my band, and they're all very musical.
Oh.
So I not only work with John back then, but I work with John's brother-in-law in my band. David Morgan and Alicia Morgan, his wife, are in my band, and I love that family so much, I can't tell you. So I never really got to know John too well.
What kind of genre music does your band like to play?
Blues, swampy blues, and some funny stuff, and then some very sad stuff. And my husband wrote Superstar, that the Carpenters made famous. So I usually throw that one in just to dedicate to him. And kind of rock, bluesy rock. I a couple of years ago was invited to Florida at B.B. King's to sing with the Ladies of the Blues. So I do blues.
Oh wow!
With a little rock and humor to it too.
Yeah.
And you can see, by the way, Michael Berryman and I on my YouTube channel, Suze Lanier-Bramlett.
Oh, nice.
I have a song called "Watch What You Ask For," and it's a song I wrote, all the words and music. And Michael Berryman stars in it with me, with Brooke Lewis as Miss Vampy, and kind of. She plays a vampire, and it's my music, and we did that about a few years ago, and shot around Malibu. It was shot pretty much with an iPhone, I think, or not.
Mm-hmm.
We did it in a day and a half, and but it's pretty funny. So if your audience wants to see me and Michael play again, and it's pretty bloody. And it's with a lot of comedy, so I do play the victim.
Uh-huh. All right.
It has a twist ending.
What?
It has a twist ending too.
It does have a twist ending. It does. So that gives you an idea of the kind of music, horror kind of comedy music I do. So yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. We've had Michael Berryman on a bunch of times. He's one of my favorite guests, but not since Trista's joined. So it'd be cool. We'll have to get him back sometime.
Yeah, maybe us together sometime.
That'd be awesome. Yeah.
No.
He's a very funny guy, very nice guy, as you mentioned, and he's on the same political side of all of us, which is always a good thing on the show.
And by the way, I always keep it handy.
Very good. I walk a lot, and I have mine with me. So I don't have it down here. I'm in my basement. Yeah.
Neal had his on today.
I did. Yes,
yeah, I was with him.
Yes.
It's a good thing. It's a good thing. We got to do something.
And it's such a simple thing to ask people to do. I don't know why it has to be such a big deal.
Look, this is it, right? And so I go out and I walk the dog or whatever, right? And it's right here, ready to go.
That's exactly how I have mine. And then there's a lot of places I go, there's no one. And if I see someone off in the distance, I just pull it up.
Right. And if somebody's at the door, I can just do this. If they surprise me, drop off or whatever, I just do this. It's not bad. I'm still cute. Look.
Yes, you are. Yeah. But that adds some mystery. I like it.
And so, in my neighborhood in Calabasas, there are people fighting on the Facebook City of page about a damn mask. It's such an easy little thing to do and to save hundreds of thousands of lives, not 1,000 lives, hundreds of thousands of lives for people my age, and much younger and much older. And it's such a courteous, easy thing to do. What is wrong with people? I don't care if they're Republicans or Democrats.
Yeah, I don't know why it even had to be politicized at all. I mean,
if it saves lives, put it on, for God's sake. And there's a woman that lives in my community, make me. I went, well, I can't make you put on a mask, but we can just go forever and not have the kids return to school. And we can go forever and not ever get to go to a restaurant again, bitch, you know, if that's what you want.
Frankly, I like them. I can't believe I was letting people breathe on me before.
I know. Exactly, Tristan. I am never going without a mask again.
No.
If you think I would ever go to a grocery store again without doing this,
no, I much prefer it, frankly.
I actually had some before this, so I was prepared because I walk a lot, so I had them because I would get cold. But yeah, it's not a big deal. And I wear exactly like those ones. You just wear them around your neck and pull them up, and then if no one's around, you can pull it down for a little bit. It's not a big deal.
I think some people are resistant because they think it's like a burqa or something like that. And I was thinking the other day, man, those people had it. They had it going way before this. I mean, they knew how to stay away from the germs. Those women were pretty smart. I mean, I forget religion. You know, just cover it up and you're not going to get germs. And maybe that was what was behind it. I don't know. You know, my grandmother survived the Spanish flu. And she always, when I was growing up, I never saw her without gloves, either driving or in public. And I really believe that it wasn't just a fashion statement now. I believe it was that she got used to, she was in her probably late teens during the Spanish flu. And I think they got used to covering their hands for germs, you know. They didn't have Purell back then.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I've told people if you don't like wearing the mask, you're really not going to like a respirator if you have to have one. It's a lot worse. I've had one when I was sick several years ago, and it's not a good time.
Oh, man, I'm sorry. Yeah, I've lost a lot of friends to COVID already. I've lost some dear friends already. And it's very real, and it is no hoax. And why people can't, you know, put a little something over their mouth. You got to cover your eyes too. Fauci is, we haven't emphasized that so much, but I have things, if I go out, well, I wear sunglasses if I go outside.
Yeah, I do too, but yeah.
But if I go to the grocery store and you know, it's hard to see sometimes if your glasses are too dark, I have clear shield glasses to put over my eyes because he told my friend, because he's really good friends with one of my dear friends, that the eyes are really, really important to cover too. And that it might be more like 13 feet rather than 6 feet, but I'm not supposed to say that.
Yeah, I've read the same thing about the distance. And that was another thing that there's some really, I didn't know people believed in such like crazy theories, but I've seen like the 6 stuff. I actually blocked someone the other day because it was just so, he was saying that it's making people worship Satan, like because the masks are Satanists, and then 6 feet times it's like 6. I was like, come on, man, you can't actually believe this. And it was just, and I see people sharing this kind of stuff, and it's like I just can't fathom that someone would believe that.
Well, illiteracy runs rampant in the country. And so, you know, I really just feel those people are kind of illiterate and didn't get enough education. They need to go back to school. You know, it's pretty sad for somebody to twist it that way when.
The unfortunate thing is those people are the least likely people to do that, right? Like angry people that don't realize that they're wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Well, you know, it'll be sad that they have to learn the lesson when somebody close to them is affected badly. And, you know, I'm personally, I'm not as, yes, I am very much afraid of it, but I'm also afraid of the residual effects. And you know, it affects the brain and the heart. And they say now largely the kidneys. And so we don't even know how long it, you know, just because you test negative, they don't even know if it's still in there or not, you know, working its little way around or whatever. So I don't know why people are so cavalier about it.
I don't know either. I live with a doctor who worked in the COVID unit, and you know, there's certainly nothing cavalier about that.
Is he okay?
She is fine, yeah, but it's very scary and very real, as you're saying.
Yeah. Well, I hope she stays. I mean, the doctors are our only hope. You know, the doctors and the nurses are our only hope. We're dependent on them too, and the scientists. So, and any doctor who is in one of those wards is my hero.
Mm-hmm.
As you were saying earlier, I was thinking about that. Obviously, we spoke before we started recording about how I'm also an actor, and you were talking about how there are some actors that are very self-involved, and that's what I was thinking as you were saying that. You know, I'm very aware that the doctors are the real heroes, and the scientists and fire people, and you know, but definitely right now the people that are on the front lines, those are the real heroes. I can't imagine being super self-involved and concerned about my acting career. It's very humbling. I feel very small, and I you know, I'm very grateful for people like her and all of the heroes out there.
Absolutely. Tell her.
There's a lot of just anti-science movement in the country, which is really disheartening and strange. You know, people that just think anything science is evil or some type of lie or something.
Those evangelicals now, they have their opinion about science, you know, and I'm not putting down anybody's religion. You can
I understand.
what you want, but I think that you know what I believe? I believe that if anything is going to bring down Christianity, because I don't think any religion lasts forever and ever, particularly. And I grew up a Christian, I guess you could call it that. My dad was not religious, but my mother was. It's making the religion look, I won't say stupid, but you know, not. You know, it's really not doing. It's not making the religion as respected as it was because of people not being able to integrate science and integrate the fact that people are sick. People get sick. You know, I mean, I can't believe that they're making it a religious thing too. You know, anti-science is just stupid.
Yes, yeah. It was a nicer way than I said, but it's the correct way. Yeah.
That's a great quote, actually.
Yes, it is. This will be a very weird segue from this conversation, but what made you start with Cabaret? Because I know it was something you did later in life.
I had written all these songs, and there were many autobiographical. Like I have also one on my YouTube channel. It's called Facebook, and it's a spoof on Facebook. I know what you ate last week, you know, that kind of thing. And collard greens, and I don't know, I can't remember. But anyway, it's a spoof. So I wrote one called years ago called "If Roy Rogers Was My Daddy," because I had a crush on Roy Rogers when I was just a little bitty kid.
Yeah, I see a theme in your music. I like Mike and Roy Rogers.
So I had all these songs, and I thought, well, what am I going to do with them? Oh, I think I'll put them together in a one-woman show, and did, and got. I had a country band, by the way, in 1984, playing a lot at the Palomino Club in Los Angeles, and everybody played there. I mean, I opened for Lucinda Williams a lot on the road, and that was a real coup because, you know, I just loved the music scene, and loved being in the bar and singing with my band. I know I sound like an old drunk, but, you know, I'm just keeping it, you know. Play with Lucinda, to open for Lucinda Williams was the cool thing to do, you know. And so I played at the Palomino, so I had all these country songs. And then And then I got into some blues stuff, and I wanted to put it all together. So years later, I quit doing that. And then I became a photographer because I was making good money as a photographer. So I didn't have time to do everything. And I was raising my son and wanting to get him out of school. So photography was very lucrative for me. And so after my husband passed away, I put the music all back together and wrote a bunch of new songs, and opened up at the M Bar, and it was packed. I played Vitello's in a lot of places around town, and it was just so much fun, and it took me away from the grieving that I was going through. And music is a very healing thing, and that's why I chose Music Cares for my birthday charity, because without music, I can't even imagine life without music. And I'm not talking about my music. I'm talking about turning it on and lifting my mood up. You know, or even classical. I love classical music. I love all kinds of music. And so I can't imagine life without it. So I think it's one of God's greatest gifts is music. And so, that's how that, you know, I had all these songs. I wanted to do something with them, not let them sit there and rot. Yeah. I may make some music videos of some of them, even if Roy Rogers was my daddy. I get sued for the photos.
I would watch them. It's very cool. Joe here wants to know, how did you get into photography, and do you still do it?
Yeah. Well, my acting career had slowed down a little bit, and a lot. And then how did I get into it? I was always, when I was a little girl, my daddy had bought me a Brownie camera, so I was always shooting around the backyard, and he would take the film and go get it developed. And then I had a dream. Now this is true. What's your name? Ask the question. What's his name?
Joe.
Joe. Okay, so I had a dream one night in the 80s that I was a photographer and I was in a studio. And I woke up and I said to a friend, I think I'd like to get a camera. And that friend bought me a beautiful camera. And I invited a couple of actor friends over, and I said, can I just shoot your picture and let's see what happens? And I started off just with available light. And an agent saw the pictures and called and asked, a big agency in LA, and called and asked how much I charged. And I didn't even know. And I said, well, I'll call you right back. And I called my friend. I said, what do you charge for headshots? And Rosemary Alexander, wonderful actress, and she told me. And I went, okay. So I undercut her a little bit, called the agent back and went, okay, so I'll do it, you know, I don't know, $50 or something. I don't know, it was cheap. And before you know it, they were sending me all these people, and I was shooting, and then I got some strobes. Then I started doing fashion, and then I went to Paris and shot there, and London and Nashville, doing a lot of album covers. And that's how I started. In a dream, I dreamed I was a photographer, and that's the truth. And wow. I hadn't really thought of that question, Joe, until you just asked me.
Yeah, that's a good question. And he also want to know, is it something you still do?
Yes, I have a shoot on Monday. And I'm going to open up all the windows. I have a studio in my house, and I'm going to open up all the windows and put on a fan and wear a mask, and it's going to be a very fast one. I've already warned the client that, and it's a stranger. I don't know this person. And if somebody calls me, and I don't advertise, but if somebody calls me and asks me to shoot, then I'll do it, you know. Yeah. And I'm thinking of turning my deck making my deck a partial studio so it can all be outside, so that everybody, okay, yeah. I'm a little nervous about having somebody in the house, but I'm going to really have it ventilated, and I have a lot of windows in the studio, so I think it'll be okay.
Yeah.
You do so many things.
No, she's like a Renaissance woman.
Yeah, you really are.
Everything going on. Is there anything you don't do? I haven't ridden a unicycle this week, you know.
Yeah, my tap dancing is a little rough these days. Don't
All right,
have
that's your next thing.
You can work on it before your next appearance.
quite as well as I used to.
Juggling and tap dancing, not quite up to par yet. All right.
Not these days, no. They used to be, but I did a play with Don O'Connor where we did do tap. He taught me some of the tap.
That's awesome.
Yeah, in the 80s. It was called Wally's Cafe. And Mickey Carroll, who was the mayor of Oz in The Wizard of Oz, met up with us in St. Louis, Missouri. And the three of us, Donald on the left, right, and Mickey on the left, and we did the Oz tap dance for the audience after the show.
That's awesome.
I love it. Yeah. When you talked earlier about Welcome Back, Kotter, and you're on Three's Company and Alice, and what was it like that time? The sitcoms to come on and work on a show that already has like an existing cast, so like they probably all know each other, and then you come in for a guest appearance.
Well, it's hard work, and the table read is what you do first. Let's just say the table reads on Monday, and then you're going to shoot on Friday. I mean, it can be any day. It's about a 5-day process, and a lot of people get bumped on that first table read if the chemistry doesn't mesh. You might not. They may say, thank you, but bye, and then they'll replace it with somebody who has a better chemistry with the cast. So you better do what you did at the audition and be focused and make sure that you're table reading as well as you possibly can, because it could be short-lived. It's hard work. Sitcom is really hard work. Making, you got to make your mark, and you can't look down to look for it. You got to know where to stop and be aware of. In sitcom, there's 3 or more cameras. So there's something subconscious an actor needs to have in their head about where the cameras might be and what angle they might be picking up. It's not just learning the lines and saying them to another actor. There's a lot of technical stuff that if you're going to make it work really well, you want to not dwell on or take you out of your concentration for your character, but be subconsciously aware of where people are and your environment. It's pretty hard work.
Where can people follow you today? You're not back to your house here. But.
Instagram, Suze Lanier, SuzeLanier. Twitter, Suze Lanier, and Facebook, Suze Lanier-Bramlett. Bramlett may be attached to some of the others too. Before my husband passed away, he wanted to make sure I kept that Bramlett on there, and I do. I know that I did a lot of my horror work as Susan Lanier, and it's confusing. But today I work as Suze Lanier-Bramlett, and you can find me on all of them. And I just started TikTok.
Oh, really? You're ahead of me here, yeah.
So I've only got a couple of them.
Yeah, get on there before the president bans it, apparently.
I know. I've only done a couple of TikToks, but I think they're kind of fun. And my friend, great director Brian Danley, said, "Oh, honey, you've got to do TikTok." And I went, "All right." So 4 of them. God knows how many end up. I'm trying to keep up. It's not that easy.
I remember when because we were doing the show in 2006, and it was before like the social media stuff started to pop up, and I remember a friend of mine was like, "Oh, you got to get on MySpace," and I was like, "I don't know whatever," and he made the MySpace, and actually the guy who listens to the show made our Facebook page, so I should listen to people more because they know the trends better than me. But yeah, it's something I think some people don't even think about either, like just if you want your name out there, you do have to keep up with social media, even if it's not something you enjoy. You still have to have your name out there.
You have to. I mean, lately people have been, autographs for you or something. They send me pictures to sign because there's no convention. So I've been doing autographs people if they go through them, and that's nice. And then I'm doing Cameo, where I can give somebody a greeting if they want to do that. So just FYI, if you want me to do a Cameo, I'm on Cameo. And Morgan Fairchild is a dear friend of mine, and she loves doing Cameo. So anyway, so I'm doing that, and then trying to figure out if this. I just heard on some show that this could go on until 2024. That's a long time. So I'm trying to figure out how to manifest virtual into a way to stay vital and keep myself from getting depressed and not having any direction or creative outlet.
Right.
So I think it's important to be able to evolve and, as long as you can.
Yeah.
And as long as you're blessed to be here, because a lot of people are being taken out, and I feel very blessed to still be here.
Yeah, I mean, that's really why we started doing the show video, because it was just audio, but it was for all of us, it takes our mind off stuff when we're doing, and it gives people something to watch and listen to and get their minds off things, even if it's for an hour or two a week.
I agree. I mean, the thing I miss the most is going to a bar and listening to music, but I don't mind not driving in LA traffic.
Right.
And so I will say that there's certain things about this. I love Instacart, and I love to have my groceries delivered on the porch. And I may never go back to a grocery store. That is not my favorite thing to do. And I love Grubhub. Just bring me dinner, baby. And so I'm not opposed to all that. You can have a martini. You don't have to drive home, and you get to see your girlfriends and whatever. So I really think there's some positive, I won't say good things, but positive things about all of this that will stay with us even after a vaccine or a treatment is developed that is safe. I believe that some of our lifestyle will keep some of this. So I think it's not all bad, and I try to look at it like that.
Yeah.
Like those cute driving gloves, right?
Yes. I mean, I'll never touch another shopping cart barehanded again.
Oh, no.
No, never. No. And the one good thing about it is I've noticed that, I would get a lot of, I'm out a lot and go to a lot of airports and stuff, and I was getting bronchitis some. I haven't had a cold or a bronchitis since I've isolated.
Knock on wood, yeah.
Knock on wood, yes. And, and I'm thinking, it was everybody else's germs out there that I was picking up on. And so, no, I mean, even foolproof vaccine, foolproof treatment, I will have on my mask and my gloves, and this is my new life. I don't want germs.
Yeah, none of us do. So very good. And this was really fun. It was awesome to have you on the show with us.
I've had a great time.
Yeah. I would love to do it again. I like the idea of you and Michael Berryman being on. I'll work on that. That would be very fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be fun. I think he would be into it. And like I said, I'll give your regards to Brooke tonight. She's coming over for dinner.
Oh, very good. Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate that.
I'm glad you're so wise and charming.
Yes.
Pardon?
Oh, yeah.
I said you're so wise and so charming.
Oh, thank you so much. So are you. And also, I want to say maybe we can do more after Red Rooms is released.
Oh, yeah, that would be great.
That would be good. Yeah.
We love that.
Yeah,
I'm really
Gotta have a sing-along next time. That's what
okay.
all right? That's
I like
all
this
I'm
idea
asking
too.
for.
I'm all.
I don't ask for much. I just want to sing along. That's all.
Right. Troy, you're so quiet.
Well, no, it's only the important things I have to
He's
jump
building
in.
up to the sing-along.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I've had a ball, and thank you for inviting me to be here today.
Thank you for doing it, and
it's
thanks
been a lot
for
of fun.
not telling Brooke to cancel her appearance. I'm glad that you.
No, I'm going to tell her how much fun you are.
Oh, very good. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Good.
We all appreciate it.
Yeah.
Well, have a good night.
Peace out. Wear your
Yeah,
mask.
thank you so much.
Stay safe, everybody.
Night, everybody.
Much love. Should I hit leave?
Try and actually turn us off of Facebook. Oh, here we go.
All right, so big farewell.
Yeah. All right.
All
we're
right. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night.